The next option or an alternative to foreclosure is the short sale. And you probably heard a lot about the short sale. We've talked about that a few times through different modules. And what is a short sale? A short sale is where the bank agrees to take less money from someone for their interest in the house than what's owed. So again, in our example, let's say that you owe $250,000, but the house is only worth $150,000. And so no one is going to come and pay $250,000 to make the bank whole. The bank would frankly rather have what they can rather than letting it sit there and things like that. So they will encourage you, hopefully, to do a short sale. And so let's say you got a buyer comes in and says, look, I'll give you $150,000, which is the current market value for the house. And then you have to get the bank to agree to that. So there's a process for doing that. It's almost like a modification in the sense that you have to submit a required number of documents. Most banks require that you list the house for 90 days with a realtor to see if you can sell it normally. So there's a whole list of things that are required. In the materials, we have a list of those documents that's typically required in a packet that the bank will give. You don't need to get the packet directly from the bank who's doing the lender. Just call them up and say, look, I'm interested in doing a short sale. You know, do you have a short sale packet? Typically they all do. They'll send it out to you. But what we have in there is the kind of the required documents. They're almost always going to want to see a hardship letter in there. What caused you to get behind? You know, what's the problem with that? And that's what's going to allow you to do it. You know, they're not going to say, well, gosh, you know, I just don't like this house anymore. You got to have some kind of good hardship letter. And so we've got some of that material as a sample for you to look at as well. All right, so look at the documents. You'll see kind of a standard list, but just make sure you get it from the lender directly. And then as we talked about before, you know, as before, and I just want to emphasize this again, the deficiency. And you got to be careful when you're dealing with realtors on this. And you know, I like realtors. They're okay. They're good. They're good professionals. But sometimes, you know, I'm not going to say they're more interested in their commission than you, but you got to be careful. All right. So there's two things. Let's say that there is a deficiency. In our case, $250,000 versus $150,000 of value. So we have a $100,000 deficiency. There's two options. One is the bank can say, we're going to let it go. You know, in fact, you can negotiate to waive the deficiency. If it were me, I would try and get them to waive the deficiency. I probably wouldn't even do a short sale unless they waive the deficiency. It's something to be negotiated. A good realtor can do that. And so if they waive the deficiency, that's when we need to start looking at those things we mentioned earlier about the tax implications. You know, if you waive the deficiency, are you going to be liable for the taxes? You know, does it qualify for the Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Relief Act? Are you insolvent as a result of it? Are you going to file bankruptcy? And so those are things you got to look at. So I certainly would be interested in having you waive the deficiency. I'd rather you pay a little bit of taxes than pay $100,000 in debt. The other thing is if they don't waive it, which is more often than not. Normally they're going to say, no, we're just going to come after you for it. We want $100,000. That's when we have a different issue. And so if there's a deficiency from the short sale, you know, and don't just automatically assume that because you did a short sale that there's no deficiency. I can't tell you how many of my clients have come to me and say, well, no, they waived the lien on the house. Well, yeah, they waived the lien on the house, but they didn't waive the promissory note that you owe them. And so more often than not, you do the short sale and a week or two later, they've sued you for the deficiency for $100,000. And so we need to know if that's coming or not. So if they don't specifically waive the deficiency, you're going to have to look and see what the next step is. And that may be a bankruptcy, something we need to consider.